What do you really know about the lives of your mum and dad before you were born? What do you really know? You've heard the stories. They probably told you what work they did, what countries they've lived in. But did they tell you about the people who have affected their lives? Did they tell you about the life philosophy they developed? Did they tell you about the way they felt about the world when they were young? Did they really bring home to you the differences between life when they were young and when you were young? And they probably didn't. And what about their relationships with their own mothers and fathers? Did their own mothers and fathers tell them about how they felt when they were young? And about the uncles and nephews and so forth, and all of the influences that they had on the lives of your parents when they were young. These things are missed, and they can never be recovered unless, of course, they wrote their autobiography. And not only wrote their biography, but did a good job at it. Poured out all their feelings, beliefs, their philosophies of life, so that you could fully understand them later on when they were gone. If we don't record our lives in this way, they are lost. If we're very famous, somebody will do a biography on us. And if we're very, very famous, quite a few people will do that. But for the most of us, no one will. It's up to ourselves to write our own biography so that our own kids, our grandkids and great-grandkids can know the sort of life we lived and how we felt about it. That's important, how we felt about it, because that reveals our true character, not just what we did for a living, where we travelled. What are the benefits of this? The benefits of this are that it keeps us sharp as we're doing the writing. We remember names, the names pop up, the nostalgia. There is great pleasure in writing an autobiography. Even if you've had a tough childhood, even if perhaps you've been beaten or abused in some way, it gets it out of your system. There is a cathartic effect in it. And there are so many other benefits of writing your own autobiography. It helps other people. The lessons that you've learned can be passed on to them. The mistakes that you've made, they will perhaps not make because you've passed on your wisdom. Write your autobiography. Don't let it slip away. I can remember my own lifetime and my own mum and dad. What did I really know about them? Very little about my father, except that he was in the First World War and the Second World War. A boy soldier in the first, a man in his late 30s in the second. And a little bit about his work, and his mum and dad and where they lived, and what pub they drank at. But what did I really know about how he felt about his relationship with my mum? I never knew that. As far as my grandparents, nothing. Not really. Just that my grandfather was wounded or came home from the First World War and ended up as a cripple. I remember that. On my mother's side, a complete mystery. All I know is my mother was born in 1900, somewhere in India in the British Raj, and left there at 30 years of age. Got married to my father and moved to London. But as far as her family's concerned, just names. Just names. No real background about what they did, where they went, how they felt, how they lived. I only wish that my mother had taken the trouble to write down in detail her life, because I'm sure it was very interesting. The first 30 years of it, of which I had no idea what she did, where she went, except that she was a school teacher, moving around India and so forth. That's all I know. I don't know how she felt about the world. The point I'm making here is I encourage everyone, if they can, jot down notes, keep a journal, and at some time, don't leave it too late while your memory's still good, perhaps in your 60s. Write your autobiography. Your loved ones, the ones that you're living with now, your kids, your grandkids, and their kids will be grateful that you did it, because times change and things are never quite the same. And to be able to put people who are generations ahead of us into our world so that they understand how we lived, I think, is very important. So do it. Do it. Do it.